What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and we are back for another edition of MVP Sports Live for the wonderful Tuesday, August 25th. I am joined, as I always am, with my beautiful co-host, Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And Dave, before we start the show, we got a little bit of news that is rocking the sports world, but I am not versed enough to go into depth about it, and I don't know about yourself. I'm not going to assume you don't know about this in depth, but I wanted to mention it nonetheless. Lionel Messi, Dave, saying that he wants out of Barcelona after I was looking on Twitter where apparently in the past he said he'll never leave Barcelona. So the way I'm looking at it, Dave, is it looks like the soccer world's getting their own taste of LeBron James when LeBron left Cleveland.
That ain't my jam. You know what? I'll have to talk to my brother. He's a big football fan. I almost said soccer. That would have been a no.
I'll say soccer. I'll be the ignorant American.
Yeah, so it's not my jam, but I'll see what the word is on the street.
It's big fucking news. He said he wants out, and now every team is looking to go get Lionel Messi. But we are diving into some different topics today on the show. Going to be an NBA, NFL show today. I'll get into that a little bit later, but before that, let's get some housekeeping out of the way. Number one, if you guys are not in the MVP Discord, you gotta go ahead and join that Discord. If you're on YouTube, it's down below. If you're watching it live now on Twitch, just exclamation point Discord, and it gives you the link. You join, you get to talk with all the fans, all the real MVPs about several different things. NFL, NBA, MLB, gaming, wrestling, TV, movies, everything. All in one spot, one community, in one central location. These will eventually be podcast services around the world or on podcast services around the world. Again, thank you for your patience on that. And also, if you're watching on Twitch, thank you. If you ever miss the show, you can watch it on YouTube, MVP Sports. And if you're on YouTube, we do the show Monday through Friday live on twitch.tv/MVPvids. I think that's it. I think that's all we had for housekeeping today. Patreon.com, Dave, thank you. Patreon.com/MVPvids is how you help support us. That's probably the most important one besides the Discord to me. That is how we are able to do this each and every day for you, and thank you to our Patreon sponsors, Dave, as I forgot to say their names yesterday. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did. I heard that whole conversation.
Soapy was like, oh, you forgot. And I was like, shit, I forgot that on Sports Live yesterday. So thank you to our Patreon producers, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. But Dave, let's get into it. We got draft news up front. The little minor news that I don't think is, to me, like, I don't understand why this is a deal, but I can understand why it's a deal, if that makes sense. If that little oxymoron makes any sense. But apparently word around the Twitter sphere from Woj is that the NBA is looking to maybe delay the NBA draft again. Me personally, I don't really get this because to me it shouldn't matter when the season starts. If players are drafted in October, if they're drafted in November, or if they're drafted 2 weeks before the season, like I would think you'd want them drafted but well before the season so they can get acclimated with their new team and all the logistics that go into that. But before we get into the real draft stuff, do you have any opinions about them delaying the draft probably yet again?
I mean, I'm bummed out about it. The draft is pretty much Christmas Day for us, so disappointed. But I understand, like, you can't have a draft if you don't know what the financials for the offseason are going to be because you can't sign these kids to contracts. So, like, there's a pecking order of things that have to happen, and they're going to end the NBA season with a championship in the near future, and they can't have the draft happen like literally like right there. They need some working time in between to get some things sorted out. So I think that if it does get pushed, hopefully it won't be too much further down the line. I think it's just they need to figure out what the salary is going to look like for the upcoming 2021-2022 season, and then they can figure it out.
And Dave, let's get into what we're really talking about with the draft. The first one, we've got a trade scenario, and then we've got a what should this team do at 8, because there's rumors that they could be looking at an individual prospect. And the first team we're looking at are the Pistons. So
Yeah.
they're in a spot where it's great to be talking about the number 7 pick, Dave, and not mention the Chicago Bulls.
No Chicago Bulls number 7, boys. Big news.
But now we get to talk about the Pistons at 7. And there was an article I came across today from the SB Nation of sites, DetroitBadBoys.com, and they proposed an interesting kind of topic where they said the Pistons should trade down from number 7, and they mentioned that the Celtics would be the perfect trade partner. I don't want to focus on the Celtics part. I just want to focus on right now to start the trading down part, because in most Pistons fans' eyes, I would think that they are on the same page I think of, because when I talk to Soapy, we kind of agree on this, is that the Pistons need a playmaker. They need a point guard out of this draft. And Soapy was talking about how one mock draft had the Pistons going with Obi Toppin. He's like, if they take Obi Toppin, I would be furious, because we don't need Obi Toppin. And the thing for me that I think of is maybe trading back for the Pistons might be a good thing, because when it comes to point guards in this draft, yes, there's some good ones like the Halliburtons, the Hayeses that are more towards the top, but like this could be a team that, hey, Kira Lewis Jr. could be in this range. If you go even a little bit further into the like 20s, you've got guys like Trey Jones who could be at the end, Cole Anthony who's been sliding down, Nico Mannion. So in your mind, Dave, should the Pistons be looking to trade back because later on in the draft there may be more point guards there and they won't have to reach on one, and they can get a little bit of extra draft capital in this draft or not the future?
I mean, you bring up a fair point as far as they're stuck in that, like, you're not in the position for the top point guard in this draft.
Mm-hmm.
You may not even be in position for the second best point guard in this draft, depending on what the teams in front of you do. So when you're in need of a playmaker like that, how much do you really love? I guess Killian Hayes is the first name that comes to my mind. LaMelo Ball will be gone.
Yeah,
that's to be assumed. That I feel like that's a lock at this point. Now, whether Tyrese Halliburton or Killian Hayes is available, I think that's the next decision. If you do have a Tyrese Halliburton available, wouldn't be a bad call, but it's looking like he might go ahead of you to maybe the Atlanta Hawks. Some are rumoring. I don't know. We'll find out. But that's okay. Do you feel good about Killian Hayes? What's your, you did just draft a European player who needs some additional time developing in Sekou Demboya. Someone who I know there's still a lot of hope out there for. We saw his rookie year. He had some good stints in the G League. Up at the NBA level, he had moments, but wasn't able to string much together. Definitely looks like he's going to have a body that will be NBA ready. He's still learning the game very much, though, and how to put himself in the best position to succeed. So I don't know. I look at next year's class and I'm going, where do you think you're going to fall in next year? Because next year is just wing heaven.
Yeah,
there are so many talented wings, and it's point guard barren. Cade Cunningham, arguably at 6'7", might be the best point guard available, but like, is he a true point guard? He's more of a wing who just is the best ball handler at the same time. And beyond that, you kind of are digging for point guards. So I think if you can secure one at the top of this year's draft, that might be more valuable. And then next year, adding in that wing talent. I know a lot of people have mocked Okoro going here. I like the idea of taking BPA here. If that is Killian Hayes, I go with it. I think he's got a spectacular highlight reel over there. And you just have to hope in your development team that, like, hey, playing under Derrick Rose, playing alongside these guys, you can get the most out of him and grow him to be a star going forward. Trading back is always at risk. The best case scenario we've seen trading back in recent years is what? Trae Young? Yeah. You traded back from a generational talent who is a top 7 player in the NBA today. I mean, like, and you got yourself a point guard who's very good and a wing prospect who could be pretty good. Like, generational talents. Trae Young, like, he's not on my screen. Like, that's the difference. So, and that's the best case scenario. I'm trying to think back. Maybe I'm just blanking on recent trade back that have paid off to both sides. I know the Sixers did that with, like, they traded back. They sniped Matisse Thybulle and then traded him to the Sixers. which did not pay out really for them.
Well, you had also the now trying to remember, looking up what this is. The Lakers traded back in last year's draft. They had the number 4 pick. They ended up taking DeAndre Hunter. But basically DeAndre Hunter, a second-round pick, which became Jordan Bone, Solomon Hill, and then a conditional pick that we won't see until 2023 went to Atlanta in order for basically New Orleans, because it was a part of the then New Orleans deal for Anthony Davis. New Orleans was then able to trade back from 4 to 8 to get Jackson Hayes. They got Jackson Hayes. They got Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 17, which was a part of that deal. And then they got a second-round pick and a future first-round pick for this year's draft.
Yeah, but that was also including Anthony Davis.
But I mean, like, the Pelicans could have stayed at 4 is what I'm saying. Like, they could have stayed at 4 and didn't have to trade back, but they were like, hey, we're going to trade. Like, they traded DeAndre Hunter and were able to get Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Jackson Hayes. And I'm not saying, like,
at this point, DeAndre Hunter played more minutes than both of them. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is a very good bench point guard in the G League.
I mean, after 1 year. After 1 year, it's been 1 year. I'm just saying, it's not the Luka Trae Young thing, early. But it's like, to me, I look at that trade and I go, you know what? It wasn't like you messed up by trading down kind of situation.
In theory, I was very happy when the trade happened because I really like Jackson Hayes and his potential. I really like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, but Nickeil peaked in his first game, I think. He had like a Michael Carter-Williams moment, and he looked like ass out there for the rest of the season. He had a good game in the bubble. Sky's the limit for the kid going forward, but like right now, DeAndre Hunter looks like a basketball player. Yeah. And the other 2 guys are developmental projects. So we'll see. It'll take a couple years to figure that one out. You're right, though. I should not judge too early on these guys.
And I mean, the other thing that I think is going to affect this too is there's 2 things that affect this for the Pistons.
Yeah.
And it all comes down to Killian Hayes here, where does Killian Hayes fall to 7? There's a chance. I'm not saying not a chance, but like,
I think there's a fair chance.
2 things have to happen first. A, the Bulls have to pass on him.
Correct.
And the only way the Bulls pass on him, in my mind, 2 ways. 1, LaMelo Ball's there. 2, Denny Abdia is the pick. Those are the only 2 guys that I could see being drafted over Killian Hayes for the Bulls right now.
Agreed.
And it really comes down to, okay, what's Charlotte going to do? But however, let's say Killian Hayes isn't taken in the first 4 picks. Then you have 2 teams in Cleveland and Atlanta who are also, to me, in similar spots as the Pistons. Where, like, to me, they can, and the Hawks have done this before with the Luka thing, where if they're not sold on Killian Hayes, either of them, because of what they have, they could be like, hey, we're going to field offers. We're going to field offers to have someone move up. We'll get your pick and then try to get future assets. Because that's, to me, with this draft, because it's such a weaker draft than we saw even in 2019. Yeah, weaker, what we think is weaker.
I don't know.
And what we think how much stronger next year's will be. Like you say, it's wing heaven. Where how many teams are going to look at it and go, okay, even if we can get 1 extra pick next year.
Next year is a fucking enigma because we're not even going to have college basketball, perhaps. Dare I say.
Perhaps.
Dare I say.
Perhaps.
It could be even more of a shit show when it comes down to figuring out these prospects. So, I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors going into this. I think that there's a chance they look into trading back because you're right. When it comes to star power, I think this class doesn't have a prospect who looks like, or as many prospects who look like they're going to be flat out like, this kid's a stud when he hits the NBA day 1. He's going to be great. He's going to keep being great, as a lot of other classes do. But at the same time, I see a lot more like 5 to 7 year vets in this group than I've seen in not last year, but a couple of years back. Like, I can look at this like, yeah, he's got a skill set. He's going to stick around. Like, that guy definitely is going to be there. That guy is there. Like, it just feels like there's a lot more guys who will be complementary pieces than there will be like flat out superstars.
I want to piggyback off that where you said complementary piece, because that's what I was kind of thinking of with who they should pick if they trade back or who they should target. To me, there's an A pick and a B pick if we being the Pistons, if I'm
Yeah,
putting
yeah,
myself
we're
in their
set
shoes.
up. Yep.
The B pick, which is the secondary one, is kind of a fan favorite for me because I've liked him since the beginning in Nico Mannion. The only reason I say that is because if I am looking to next year and I'm getting that wing that I think is going to be my star,
Yeah.
I want a point guard who is going to not just be able to handle the ball and score, but who can also assist. Trey Jones would almost be perfect in that sense, but I don't know if he's going to even go in the first round anymore, unless a team like really is like, okay, we need a point guard, and there's none
He's
really
floating in the
left
20
here.
to 40 range right now.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide range, but again, there's equal chance he goes first and second. But I agree with you.
There's the one that I would really target. Like Nico can assist while also driving. But Kira Lewis Jr. to me is the one that, like, he's the A choice, where it's like,
I was gonna say,
if
like,
I'm
I'm
trading
sorry.
back, he's the one I'm targeting. Like,
if I've got a second round pick, mid-second round pick, and it's between Nico or Trey Jones, I'm taking Trey Jones.
Yeah.
I don't like Nico as much as you do. I think Kira Lewis Jr., though, you're spot on as far as, like, if they can shift back a couple picks, get to that, 14 to 20 range, Kira Lewis Jr. should be there, and he is a very intriguing prospect for a team going forward because I think he would be a great point guard going forward. His speed, his elusiveness, like going to the hole, like he can talk to Derek, learn from Derek as far as how Derek had to change his game, his finishing as a young kid. Like there's so much to unlock there. Assuming Derek's on the team to begin next year, we assume he might not end with him, but at least to begin the season.
The other thing, and I'm taking this from Twitch chat, sorry to cut you off, is trading up. There has been some talk in Twitch chat right now about, hey, maybe trading up with the Bulls, which I would like. That would have to be the right deal, with, and especially who's there. But like the Hornets could also be one. The Hornets are an interesting pick to me just because I know last year there was chatter about them trading back and getting more assets, and then they took PJ Washington. This year could be even more of that enigma because if like LaMelo Ball is there, or even James Wiseman, or even Anthony Edwards, they could be like, who wants him? Who wants this quote unquote one of the top three from the class? And like the Pistons don't have a ton to work with. Like they don't have the extra picks that Boston has or that New York has with their Dallas picks. But could the Pistons be like, hey, we'll give you this year's first in a pick swap. We'll give you maybe a future first in 2022 and maybe one more if you think like moving up to 3 would need 2 future picks. Like, could they try to mortgage the future to move up if like, to me, it would be like if LaMelo Ball is there. If LaMelo's there at 3.
Years to do it. Like, would you mortgage your future for this draft class? That's the thing. We've just you've been basically pissing on the idea of this being a talented draft class, and then you're like, well, I'm going to give up my pick for the next couple of years to get this guy and hope that he's a superstar.
Would it be worth it for one of the top 3, for an Edwards, a Wiseman, or in my situation, it'd be Ball?
Ball's the only guy who, in my mind, I would give up multiple picks for. And I don't even know. Like, that's me being like, in 3 to 5 years, this kid's going to be something special. Yeah. I don't know that he doesn't have a complete game day one. He can move the ball on the court well. He can drive well. He can't maybe finish as well as we'd like or score or anything else, but like he has basic things that he's very good at and he'll be able to do day one. But by no means is he going to be a star day one. So it's tough to project out. Like he's not walking in the league like, Zion Ja were last year or in years past where you just knew that guy was a clear-cut star day one in the NBA. Even Zion. I mean, like, that one, whatever. I think the idea of them trading up for LaMelo Ball would be interesting. If LaMelo's available at 3, I think the Bulls might be interested in that. I think the Pistons would be interested in that. Both teams do desperately need a point guard to help them going forward. I did see someone mention, Soapy mentioned Bulls Pistons swap for Kennard and Rose to Chicago. Again, you're winning my heart, but you're not winning my mind.
That fits the program, Dave. We get Rose back. We get Anthony Davis in free agency.
We have 4 shooting guards. Great. What are we doing with 4 shooting guards? Like, get out of here with that shit. But no, I think at the end of the day, Pistons best odds is if you're there, you're big board as a Pistons, and I know this is your segment that you're doing your own things on, so I'm not going too far, but like my big board as Pistons would be LaMelo Ball 1, would be Halliburton 2, Hayes 3. I wonder.
I was going to say, audio listeners, Dave did not drop out there. Dave
I didn't drop. I'm thinking, and I'm going, if I hit that fourth spot, is Devin Vassell worth staying for, or would you trade back in this class? I think I would trade back. I think if I can't get one of my 3 point guards, I'm so positive that need and BPA align for this team in their position that they absolutely have to strike gold on this. So yeah, I think if they don't get one of the 3 point guards at the top of this draft, they really should trade back for value wise if they can find a partner in that middle teens area. If you can get that 14 to 19 area where you can secure a Kira Lewis Jr., then you're absolutely in the money. But that's a big risk. That's a big if. So I think that's what their draft strategy should be around. I know there are some bigs that are intriguing. I think Onyeka Okongwu, long-term fit on this team would be very interesting to me. I like him on this team, but I don't think that's the direction they're looking. From everything I've heard, they're not going to go with him, but it's still early. So I just trying to read into what they're putting out there, trying to read into the rumor mill. It seems like it's point guard or bust, and then trade back for BPA point guard at that point.
Yeah.
They're in a rough position, though, because overall, I mean, your core is 30-plus-year-old Derrick Rose, a 30-plus-year-old broken Blake Griffin. You got to re-sign Christian Wood to a contract which he played for about 2 months, and I don't know if he's going to deserve it or if this is going to be like, I don't even know what the contracts are going to look like at this point next year, to be fair, but it's a big if.
I'm going to ask this. If you are team, ignore the team that's there. I'm just pick numbers. If you're at 17 looking to move up to 7, how many future picks do you think the Pistons would be looking for? Is it a situation of like, hey, I can give you my 17 this year, and
I think it would be like a 17. It would be a pick swap this year, a future, maybe a 2022. First round, top 10 protected.
Would be enough to get it done.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they need to do anything else unless they're trying to leverage contracts. If you're trying to move a bad contract or a side piece kind of deal, then it gets interesting. But I think that on paper, 7 to 17 for guaranteed. Yeah. I'm good with that.
Because one team I'm going to throw out, and then I'll let you say any teams you think that could move up to 7. The last thing we'll do before we talk about the Knicks and their draft is, so I looked and I was like, the Suns could move up because they, like, if they want a point guard that's there and they don't want to sit back right now, Tankathon has them at 10 going Halliburton. If the Magic are like, dude, we'll give you future picks for us to try to get Killian Hayes instead of you taking Killian Hayes at 7.
What? Yeah.
The other one that I thought of, and this doesn't even mean they would take a point guard at 7, is the Timberwolves. Because the Timberwolves have the first overall pick. They could do something where they're like, we're going to take Anthony Edwards or Wiseman and then try to trade up to 7 or 8 or somewhere and get one of those point guards as well and get 2 top 10 picks in this draft. Or what if they say, fuck it?
They got D'Lo. The disrespect to D'Angelo Russell is insane.
I would say somewhat like they could find someone like how we said if they draft Ball, how Ball and D'Lo can play next to each other.
Yeah, like because Ball takes the 1, D'Lo is a natural shooting guard as well. But then you got to move.
And that's what I'm thinking. What if they shock the world and they say, we're going to take LaMelo Ball at 1 because we already know we can play Ball next to D'Lo in the starting lineup. And then they try to move up to 7, not for a guard, but for either let's say Wiseman falls, because that's rumors that Wiseman could fall. Let's say he's falling. The ones that I would look at is if an Obi Toppin or a Kongwu are there, and they go, hey, we're fine with giving up 17 and our 2022 first, which I know right now it depends on how their draft order goes next year. If they're top 3 next year, they keep their pick. If
Otherwise,
not, it goes to the Warriors.
Yep.
I don't think they will be top 3. That is my early hot take, because I don't think the Timberwolves will be bad this year. I don't think they will be top 3 next year. They've got too much talent to be top 3.
They got too much offensive talent to be top 3. Defensively, they're number 34 out of 32 teams.
But would that even be a smart move for the T-Wolves? Draft ball number 1 and then trade 17 and the 2022 first to move up for a Toppin or an Okongwu to pair next to Cat down low.
Very different players. You're naming very different players. I don't disagree in the thought that pairing if they take either
or even
guard,
a Patrick Williams. I'm just trying to look for a big that would fit with them.
If they take either guard, either
Edwards or Ball.
Anthony Edwards or LaMelo Ball at number 1, both are on the table for them. And they want to go back up to the top of this draft at 7 with the Pistons, I think that they would definitely be considering Onyeka Okongwu, because I love his potential to fit alongside Cat, because he fixes one of the biggest problems is defense, is the rim protection, is the paint protection. The defensive style they play. I actually watched a great video on I think it started on Reddit. NBA Reddit, r/NBA. I'll give a shout out to the guy if I can find his name in the next couple of minutes. There's a video about the Wolves defense and the way that they changed. Basically, their style is similar to the Bucks, except for the fact that the Bucks have this team with amazing length and amazing effort on the defensive end between the Lopez brothers and Giannis and their team defense, because their team wingspan still. They slouch in the lane and let guys come to them. And then they have the help defenders basically on a swivel, where if somebody's going to pull up in the mid-range in the top of the paint and stop and pop, you can have somebody come from behind or from the side and help defense. With the Wolves, there is no help. Cat gets blasted in the paint, and it's to their own detriment, because it's their own system that's setting them up. And people, I think they're second to last in opponents' mid-range scoring, which is disgusting, because that's the worst shot in basketball, and yet they're giving it up at the highest rate or second highest rate in the NBA right now. So it's a really interesting dive into what their current defense looks like. And I think Onyeka Okongwu is exactly what you're looking for to pair with a Cat out there, because he's able to dominate the paint when it comes to defense. He's able to go out and guard guys at the top of the key and shift and move his weight. He's got good feet. He can go back with it. He can backpedal. He can slide. He can turn his hips. He's got everything you want in what a current, the modern NBA big man is. He's got all of that except shooting. And his shooting's not awful. It's just not developed yet. So I look at him as that is the guy. If I'm going back up in this draft, 100%, if Onyeka Okongwu is there at 7, if I'm the T-Wolves, what can I do to make this work? The problem is, if they take Edwards, then are we moving on from Beasley? Are we playing Edwards and Beasley together?
Yeah.
Because one of those guys could be, you could use Beasley with a sign-and-trade deal to move up, down the line. Or it would be something else. I don't know what other pieces they have currently, because they basically gutted their entire roster in the last 15 games of the season. So it would be interesting to see what assets they have left to move up, because I don't know. They're like you said, they've mortgaged their future already to get D'Lo. I don't know how much more future they have left to move up that far, but if they did, they would be in really, really fantastic shape moving forward.
Like I said, with the Wolves draft situation, next year's pick is top 3 protected. Otherwise, it goes to the Warriors. Their second round pick next year is already going to the Warriors. So if they're not top 3, they don't have a pick.
I think 2023 pick is gone already too.
No, the 2022 pick will be Golden State's if Minnesota is a top 3. So if Minnesota keeps their pick next year, 2022 is Golden State's. And then they own 2023 through 2026 are their own. They've got 2 seconds in 2022, but those don't mean anything.
Gotcha. Okay.
But let's move on. Or actually, before we move on, I forgot to ask you, what team do you think, if you had to pick a team to move up to the Pistons, what would you think it is? Because I threw out the Wolves.
You mentioned the Magic a little earlier than that. I think the Magic would be an interesting team if they had the juice to do it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a toughie. I mean, the obvious choice is everybody says Celtics have too many picks. They would move up, but the Celtics have never moved up. It seems to be like an oxymoron. Like Danny Ainge loves his fucking picks.
And that's even like the SB Nation article even said the Celtics would be perfect. And it was like, Danny Ainge ain't gonna, Danny Ainge is like,
read the room,
my preciouses. My preciouses.
I 100% agree with that. It's unlikely. You know, a team who, if they had the juice, like, it would be fun to see a team like the 76ers, who are in a bit of a conundrum. Maybe move some pieces. Mm-hmm. Maybe make a little deal happen here, people. We got draft capital. You got contracts. Let's make a little something work.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Let's move on, though. We're staying in the East, staying in the draft, but we're going from 7, moving down to 8. And the reason why we're doing that is the New York Post has an article. This was from yesterday night at about 9:30. Mark Berman had the article for them. And in it, it says this. According to an NBA source, Auburn's 6'6" small forward, Isaac Okoro, has support among Knicks brass as a consideration for the draft on October 16th. If the Knicks decide to trade a shade back and obtain another asset, Okoro probably will be gone, which might be the route they choose. The quote from Bruce Pearl, Auburn's coach, was, "They've done their homework on him," Pearl told the Post recently. "I didn't get a read on it, but they've done their due diligence." So, Dave, I just want to ask you, the Knicks, we've been talking most of our mock drafts, most of the times we talk about the Knicks, we're talking about point guard. Most mocks have a point guard going to the Knicks. Would Isaac Okoro be a good pick for the Knicks at 8?
No, it's flat out simple. No. I don't get the love for Isaac Okoro at 8. I think that the Knicks lack spacing, which he does not help with. He is a tenacious defender. He's a great slasher. He's even been known to be able to pass out of those like quick touch pass, like ball comes into him on the move. He's dribbling, bounce over, create opportunities. That's great. But what he doesn't do is shoot the three. And as a modern NBA wing, you are hampering your team if you cannot actively be a threat from the three-point line. You need to be taking at least 3 threes a game at a decent clip to be considered a threat, which means teams are no longer slacking off of you and giving, a disadvantage to your teammates, because RJ Barrett thrives on the drive. And if he's facing multiple guys in the paint who can switch and help defend him, then you're not doing your job. Your best player is RJ Barrett. And if you're not getting the right pieces around him, I think it's a mistake they would be making unless they're not confident in RJ Barrett being the guy, because that's who you build around. That's the whole idea, is once you get your top talent on the team, we've seen it in the past years. Trae Young is the Hawks. What are they doing? They're trying to get pieces who work around Trae Young to get the most out of him, because they know that he's the guy who's the key to their success. You look at other teams who've done the same over the years, and it's the same story every time. And with the exception to the 76ers, who just kind of do their own fucking thing out there. Can we admit? Elton Brand, right?
Yeah.
But no, it just comes down to the fact it's not that I don't like Isaac Okoro as a player. I think he's overvalued at the 8th spot to the Knicks. I think that they have bigger needs. I think there are better players available, even at his position, that would help that team more.
And the value you're talking about is only because of the offensive growth that we would need to see from him.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee is the thing. Defensively, he is one of the strongest players for his size. He's got that PJ Tucker-esque strength, that Draymond Green strength, where he can guard, 2 through 5. Well, five, not an NBA 5, maybe a soft 5, maybe a small ball 5. If he gets switched onto, he would be able to at least hold his own to an extent. And that's day one, as he continues to put on weight and strength, and he'll be great going forward. An incredibly tough defender, but it's so hard to gamble on people developing a shot. You always can say it come draft time, be like, oh man, if this guy gets a shot, he's going to be excellent. But there's a reason the Michael Carter Williams comp out there exists for him, and it's a lazy comp. And I've talked a lot of smack about writers who go to that length to describe him. I think it's a cause for warning. I think it's, hey, let's take a look back in the past of guys who, had they developed a shot like we wanted them to, or like we hoped they would go, well, there's a sign, there's a sliver of hope here. Here's where they're going to get it right. You can't bet on that. I think the more you gamble, the more you're going to lose on that. There'll be hits here and there, but more often than not, guys don't magically develop a shot overnight. So when it comes to the Knicks team, who have a head coach who is a great defensive mind, but his teams are notorious for struggling offensively, I don't think you can afford to go for a player who does not contribute to that offensive game plan at a high level.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, the first thing I thought of, two things when I saw this was, number one, how much of Tom Thibodeau's opinion will be in the draft room, because like we know he doesn't have the same pull he had in Minnesota, where it's like,
right,
I have the GM roles and the or the basketball operations roles and the head coaching roles. He doesn't have that here. He's just the head coach. So obviously they're gonna ask Thibodeau for his opinion, but like, was Okoro, like when they talked to Bruce Pearl, the New York Post, was that before Thibodeau got hired? Have they done their due diligence all year like they do on everyone?
They should have. I mean, yeah, the answer is yes, they've been scouting him all year, but it's the question of,
when did the steam pick up? Yeah, when did the steam on him pick up? Before Thibodeau, after Thibodeau? Because for me, I look at it and I go, I could see them wanting to draft Okoro if Thibodeau is the one kind of saying like, hey, he'd really fit nicely with me, because Thibodeau and defense go hand in hand.
Oh, absolutely. I could absolutely see him being a Thibodeau blue chip prospect. He would get so much out of him, but I don't know that it would help the Knicks win games necessarily in the next couple of years. It's not a needle mover.
And the Knicks need to make a decision too. The Knicks are in a position of, they recently, like before Thibodeau, they shook up their front office a little bit. Then they hired Thibodeau after firing Fizdale this season. They got to make a decision. Basically, is this a Tom Thibodeau comes in and he's picking up where this development left off? Or is this kind of
Miller, not that Mike Miller left off?
Yeah, where Miller, not that Mike Miller left off. Or is this a rebuild? Is this a, what White Sox fans usually like to say, is this a retooling of the Knicks?
I like how we both went to the air hand. Like,
whoa, retooling of the Knicks, and like, they need to make that decision because Kevin Knox has not been what we thought he would be. RJ Barrett,
exactly what we thought he would be.
I mean, early on his rookie season, he showed flashes of like, because I remember talking about it on the fast break where it's like, hey, Kevin Knox didn't look bad this week. Maybe he will develop into something. And then this year happened.
I could remember the conversation with Sean and you, and our biggest upside for Kevin Knox was literally like the Family Guy fucking boat like conversation. It's like he could, like the mystery box, he could be anything.
He could be a boat.
He could be a boat. Like,
you know how much we wanted a boat.
Exactly, and it's like, why don't they just draft the guy who plays the position who's already that good, in Michael Porter Jr. or in the other? But it was like, why are you passing on guys who can already do the job and hoping that you can develop this guy who has the body to play basketball, but not necessarily the refined skill set yet?
Yeah.
And like, it just became a fucking joke. And then we watch it happen. And we're like, yeah, he's a template for what I would want a basketball player to look like coming out of college. And yet he has he's shown none of it on a consistent basis.
To me, there's one way the Knicks make this pick at 8.
Okay.
Is they also have the Clipper pick. And to me, it depends on how the draft, like if the Knicks are going to trade the picks, I know the article mentioned that's a possibility. It's not going to be until draft night. And the other thing we have to see is how the draft unfolds when it happens. If there's point guards falling at 8, maybe the Knicks go, okay, we're just going to take one of the point guards we've looked at. But if, let's say, like, Ball is gone, Hayes is gone, let's say someone trades up for, like, a Halliburton, something that we don't expect to happen, but it does. Maybe the Knicks go, okay, nobody's really biting on the offers we want. We really have done the due diligence on Okoro. Let's take him because we like him, because they have that pick. What's that Clipper pick at right now? It is at, if I pull up the mock draft I have in front of me, 27. So that pick could fall. Could be all the way 30 if they win the whole thing. But like they have that second pick, and right now Tankathon has Trey Jones, which wouldn't be it wouldn't be the end of the world, but also then it comes into the other conversation of, if you're going to go point guard for the Knicks, do you want someone who's going to be a facilitator? Like, Trey Jones wouldn't be bad because him and RJ were teammates. That'd be almost the best thing about it, is that him and RJ know how to play together.
It would feel pretty natural.
Because they did at Duke. But the question is, do you want someone that's going to be a little bit more ball heavy and get the ball to and be able to get the ball to Barrett, or somebody who their sole job is a facilitator? And it's like, I don't care how many points you're putting up because RJ is our main scorer. Like, what way do you want to go if you're looking for a point guard? That's what they have to answer.
If I'm looking at the point guards available in that range, I mean, Tyrell Terry is someone who I think a lot of people have flown way up their boards after that. Who wrote the first article on him that went insane? Oh God, it was
on which guy? I didn't hear which.
Tyrell Terry. Stanford point guard.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember you mentioning it on a
short
fast
guy,
break.
incredible stroke.
You were the first one to mention him on a fast break when we did it.
Yeah, but no, there's like big blog boys wrote about him. And I want to say if he falls, great pickup, because he looks like he can be like an actual legit scorer at the 3-point level and do all the things you need him to do. Yeah. I don't know if I would go with Nico Mannion. I think Trey Jones would be interesting. I think that even going for someone like a professional, like a Cassius Winston, I'm going to keep pimping out Cassius Winston.
I love Cassius, so keep it coming.
As do I. Cassius Winston could walk in, and I know he's not the sexy pick, but he is the pick to probably get it done.
Rocco Man, or Reese Man. Sorry if I could read better. Reese Man says two things. First off, he doesn't see Okoro falling past 5. So that to me is pretty interesting. But the other thing he says that plays into what we're talking about here is maybe Jamias Ramsey at 27. He says the Knicks could use more floor spacing, like you said, Dave, for their roster, especially if they envision RJ Barrett in more of a lead offense role. But this pick is wide open in terms of possibilities, especially given the new front office direction under Leon Rose.
Yeah, no, I like Jamias Ramsey. I think he'll be a great addition to that team if you can get him that late. Hell, even Desmond Bain, who Tankathon's got like a spot behind them at 28. Again, just someone who is a deadly open court shooter, because if you do try to build the team around RJ and give him that Jimmy Butler or Luka Doncic-esque role on a team, both of those guys have very different roles. Let me just clarify that I'm not an idiot. But if you try to give him a similar role to one of those guys, well, I have to, again, some people like to just jump right on shit in the comment section. I'm just going to say that.
I mean, especially when you're talking about Luka, right?
I have to clarify that. I understand they play very different games, but if they try to build a team around him in that respect, with him being that kind of guy, I do look for that second spacing piece, and I think Jamias Ramsey late in that draft would be an absolute steal for them. Desmond Bain, knockdown shooter, a bit older, but he's got a physicality to him that I like. Yeah, it becomes interesting when you go that deep. I just look at the top. He did mention Obi Toppin at that 8th pick, which is, it's the Knicks. It's power forward. It feels like it's the one position that they shouldn't touch, and yet it almost seems too obvious.
Depends on what Bobby's doing. We love Bobby, but is Bobby going to take the 15 mil option that he has?
Well, of course he's going to take the 15 mil.
Is it a player? I got to look it up. Is it a player option? I think it is.
He's saying, yeah. But they still got to deal with Julius Randle's ass, too. So
Taj Gibson on this team. Taj ain't going anywhere. Fucking Thibodeau loves Taj.
The contracts. It's a team op. Okay, so he's not going to be in charge.
Yep. Yeah, it's a team op. So I'm thinking Bobby might be like, whatever, we're going to cut him.
Yeah,
Cut that
absolutely. There's
15.
no reason they should keep Bob Portis if they can get
Yeah.
if they can go after like an Obi Toppin and look to play either double fours basically in the minutes that Mitch Rob isn't on the court and roll with Julius Randle and Obi Toppin out there and just be a dynamic scoring front court.
Yeah.
That would be fairly attractive. It's the Knicks, and I just feel like they're going for a star. So if they take somebody who's like a quiet person who is going to help this team along at 8, I'm almost worried more so than if they went for like Obi Toppin. Because he's someone who I see having success in this league and being a good scorer and being able to do all the right things on the offensive end. His defense will need some help, but he's not going to be useless out there. He's not going to be like the worst defender in the league. So I'm almost rooting for that now that I think I've talked myself into it almost.
You've talked yourself into what you were thinking or what you were against.
Yeah, I think that would be I think Obi Toppin at 8 would be an interesting move for them. I like other people for them better, but Obi Toppin as a New York fit almost makes too much sense.
And Dave, let's move on. Let's move away from the draft. Well, the last basketball thing we have is our only playoff topic for today. And it has to do with the Los Angeles Lakers and kind of the Portland Trailblazers, but more about the Lakers.
They're still involved.
So Soapy and Philly Sean were talking to me yesterday, and they were giving me shit, as they should, because I said Blazers in 7. Yeah, and I kept saying Blazers in 7. Even last night, I was like, dude, you guys fucking you talk about like a 3-1 lead, such a big thing anymore. Like 3-1 don't mean nothing. Look at the Falcons. Look at the Warriors. Look at the Indians. All had 3-1 leads. They blew it.
Just no.
And then we got news today, Dave.
Yep.
That this is coming from Shams himself. Portland's Damian Lillard has been diagnosed with a right knee sprain. Will miss Game 5 against the Lakers. So we're pretty much in the same mindset that this series is over. So I want to frame the question this way. Even though in my mind I'm hoping, I would be just smiling ear to ear if Melo just went supernova and won them Game 5. But I don't think it's going to happen. The thing I want to ask, though, is we talked about the Clippers. Should their fans be worried? The question I want to ask you about the Lakers. Are they hitting their stride? Are they basically clicking at the exact right time? Is this the exact thing that Laker fans would hope for? Is that this team is clicking at the right time while it seems like the Rockets are having some problems because of injury, the Clippers aren't seeming to get things together right now? Could this be a perfect storm for the Lakers to finish with an NBA Finals?
I mean, there's a reason why they were the number 1 seed in the regular season. They're a great team top to bottom, but more often than not, it's the tippy top that matters the most. And they've got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who can only put 18 minutes in that last game, but said back tweak, and he'll be good to go for the next game. So I'm not worried about that. Anytime you get Danny Green and KCP both hitting their shots, you're a scary team. The problem is that Danny Green was literally the worst player on that team offensively for a good stretch of time during this bubble. He was ice cold. He was beyond playoff peak cold. He was just, if he got the ball, it was just a joke. So he can, once he's turned it on, they're dangerous. KCP hitting shots at the same time. Oh, they've got 2 great floor spacers now who are above average wing defenders. Yeah, that's going to be a fearsome group to go up against. I think the big thing with this team is just that level of consistency needs to be drawn out. You won't always get those performances out of Danny Green. He's notoriously a hot and cold player. I think Kyle Kuzma had a good performance in that game. Will he have one again? We don't know. Dwight Howard's been quietly just being Dwight Howard the entire time. Gold star to that man. That was, again, underrated pickup at the time. I gushed about it and got shit on for it, but I think that he's just the right piece to be a complementary piece on that team. And again, Rondo's still on his way back. So exciting to see what this team could be when they top out. I don't think they're clicking 100% yet. I think this team gets better. I really do. I think this team gets better as they go. So if I'm looking at the second round, I'm a little afraid.
Are you?
People who have to go up against them, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say the Lakers should be afraid.
I'm saying like the Lakers are going to keep getting better the more they play. I feel like they're a team that needs that rolling steam with them, and because they didn't play seriously in the bubble, they struggled early on in these playoffs. And the first game was just the ultimate wake up call of like, whap, you just got punched in the face.
Yeah,
you do one of two things: you either back up or you punch back, and that's what they decided. They went all in on that. So credit to them, credit to the coaching staff. I mean, that's a big move.
I just feel like it's a perfect storm where you look at the next round opponents that like I mentioned the Rockets, where the Rockets are tied 2-2. I know they haven't had Westbrook out there, if I could remember his name.
Yeah, he's out there going insane on the sidelines because he still hasn't been medically cleared to play.
Like, so they're struggling because they don't have him out there. Would be a different
shot like
series
50,
if they
40,
did.
80 last night, and they still couldn't win, which was
like CP3 and like what was it? Last night's game, was it Shea Gilgeous that played like more minutes than Harden? He played nearly like every minute of the game.
I think he played 44. Schroeder played a lot and played well. Lou Dort out there defending like a monster, diving between the twigs, going for the ball. Like
your boy Dort, Dave.
Again, I'm just so happy to see guys who I was high on in college play at the NBA at a high level. So it's exciting. It's one of those things. That matchup is far from over. That's all I saw last night. That is far from over.
But like even the Thunder, let's say they do move on.
Yeah,
I don't think they CP3 might have a game or two, but LeBron ain't gonna let CP3 beat him in a best of 7. Would I be happy if CP3 did? Yes, because I'd be happy for CP3. Maybe. But yet again, you got to remember the thing. CP3 has a little bit of extra mojo for this series because of his history with the Rockets.
I mean, they traded for each other, and CP3 was the worst player, so they had to include picks. It's kind of embarrassing.
But to me, the only team that I could see, I'll say this, the only 2 teams I could see giving this Lakers team a problem in the West.
They're playing each other in the first round now.
I haven't even thought about the East yet. Is the Clippers are obvious. I'm not even saying them because, like, if Paul George gets his head out of his ass, then, like, yes, the Clippers.
Dude, even he made a public statement today about it. He's like, look, I'm getting the shot. I'm getting the looks. No one's defending me, and I still can't knock him down. I don't know.
Like, I'm not even thinking about the Clippers because that's a layup. Like, obviously. I'm thinking the Mavericks, like Luka and KP when healthy, might be able to give the Lakers a series. The other one is a healthy Rockets team. If the Rockets get past the Thunder, Westbrook comes back healthy, that's a series.
They're my favorite. If the Rockets are healthy, that's my favorite out of the West.
I
don't see how they lose a best of series when they're 100% healthy, and that's the big question: is if they're going to be able to pull that off before they get eliminated. If Harden can win out without Brody, it's a big ask with a couple games left. But I'm with you.
And like in the East, can any of the top 4 teams, because it looks like it's going to be Bucks, Miami, Celtics, Raptors, can any of them compete with this Lakers team? Like, I mean,
in theory, the Raptors are really well set up to do it.
The Raptors are, and they're well coached. The Bucks have Giannis. That's probably the biggest star power of any of the teams in the East.
That would do it.
That it's just like I don't want to put the Lakers on a pedestal. Is
notoriously a great matchup. So that one will be. I mean, that's a banger through and through. And then what? You gotta hope that Chris Mid can match LeBron James. Good. Okay. Okay.
But I would also love to see Jimmy against LeBron too. Do I think the Lakers win that series? Right. Yes. Even though I'd be rooting for Jimmy.
That would be a great one. But also you can't forget the option if the Celtics make it, that revenge series against LeBron James. You knocked us out 2 years ago.
Gordon Hayward would be healthy for that, hopefully.
We got you in the ship this time. Like, how cool would that be for Jason Tatum?
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown coming into the league, getting put into the LeBron blender, and now a couple years later, they're at the top of it. I mean, the storylines in the NBA are just...
And it'd be Kemba's first finals.
It would be. I mean, Kemba's won more games in the last week than he has with the Charlotte Hornets in their entire playoff run. Like, I don't even know what to say about that. That's
That's facts.
But what we will do, we'll leave that to the side. I just wanted to throw in the Lakers because we were going to talk about it yesterday, but I was like, hey, they play.
And again, we're not writing them to the championship. We're just saying if the series gets there, these will be some fun matchups.
They've proved me wrong. Like Jake was like, oh, Jake in Twitch chat right now, oh, you can't even say best of 7 without smiling. Well, yeah, I'm smiling now
make
because
Jake
I'm
sound
wrong.
like that. Jake doesn't sound like that.
Because that's how I read it, Dave. Like, of course, look back at the videos when I was saying Blazers in 7. I wasn't smiling then. Now I'm smiling because obviously I'm going to be wrong. Because it looks like without Dame, the Lakers are going to finish this in 5. But, like, don't put the disrespect on that. When I made the prediction, I wasn't smiling. This wasn't some weak prediction. I came at it strong. Came at it early. But we're going to move on before we get into the NFL stuff that we have. We have to do our daily segment, Dave. These are our dampest of dudes, soggiest of shooters, moistest of men, sometimes our mistiest of misses. These are our wet boys. We give love to players that popped off the day before, or if it's a Monday, the weekend before. So these are players that had a great Monday that we are going to give love to today. How we do it is Dave gives a wet boy, I give a wet boy, and then the silver and above patrons at patreon.com/MVPvids. They get to vote for their own wet boy. And Dave, we will start with you as we always do. Who's your wet boy for August 25th, 2020?
Again, I'm just going to keep patting myself on the back for all my scouting work that I've done in the past couple of years. My wet boy today is Bam Adebayo. This boy is doing work everywhere. Killing the boards, killing it in the point, and has learned to become one of the best passing big men in the NBA. Like, he took what Al Horford was doing as a modern tweener big and just poof, new level for Bam. He is absolutely one of the biggest keys to success for this Miami team, and I absolutely love what he's done this season. He's gotten so much better so quickly in the NBA. Shout out to Bam, shout out to Miami. They let Hero finish it out for them. I love that shit. Goran Dragic out there getting the starter minutes like it counts. We actually got a Kendrick Nunn sighting finally. I wish to know what the hell's going on behind closed doors there at some point down the line with that, but I guess he's playing, so all is well again.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'm just going to move right into mine. The next two, Dave, you're the only basketball wet boy today. I'm just going to say that. You're the only basketball wet boy. Because for me, I have to go and give a little bit of love to my Chicago Cubs. Javi Baez popped off yesterday, Dave. Had a 3-for-5 game, hit 2 home runs. One of his, I want to say it was like his 8th multi-home run of the, he's got a shit ton, I'll say. Multi-home run games this year. Yeah. Gotta give love to the Diamond. And for me, the biggest surprise was this wet boy by the patrons is a special circumstance wet boy, Dave. It's a special circumstance one because this was something that happened on Thursday of last week, but there was news that came out today that in order to make it special and make that moment special, he deserved a wet boy. And the patron wet boy for today is Jose Alvarez, Dave. Do you know what happened to Jose Alvarez?
Oh, I saw it.
So, if you did not,
it wasn't pretty.
He took a mighty shot to the balls, to the cojones.
105, they said, coming off the bat.
105 mile per hour off the bat. As Tim said, because Tim said he was going to vote for this in Discord yesterday, he was like, dude took it off the nuts and still finished the play before collapsing. The thing that makes it like something to where I looked at it and I went, dude, he deserves a wet boy for that, is news came out today that he has testicular contortion now. We'll have to let that repair, then rehab it, and he's most likely lost his season because he took a fastball off the bat to the gonads.
Hopefully he keeps both the boys together down there. I mean, testicular torsion, sometimes they have to remove one.
Yeah, I know.
In extreme cases, so.
I will say, as a young Ricky, had a little scare when Dave, we used to like doing little skids on our bike.
Yep.
We were having a block party one day, did the splits too hard, fucking swelled up. I thought I was going to get testicular contortion. Good thing young Ricky did not, and the boys were intact down there, but got to give the wet boy to Jose Alvarez, hoping everything's all right.
Seriously, what a trooper, though.
Shot.
Like, he took that shot and then went for the ball, and you saw him take one more step, and he's like, oh, no, and just goes with it. And
was able to get the out, though, which is the most important thing. You got to get the out.
I guess.
This guy says rehab for his balls. I can only think of one thing that works for that.
Funny.
But Dave, let's finish out the show going into some quick kind of NFL discussions. There was an article on NFL.com that kind of was in the same vein as your draft article from Bleacher Report that we talked about last week, where they gave some like nine moves that NFL teams have to make. And there were 4 of them that kind of spoke to me, peaked to me. And the one thing I will say, I forgot to ask you before the show, I will ask you now on the show. Would you rather, because I would like to do some NFL predictions before the season that we have on September 10th. I will ask you, do you want to do those on Friday or Monday?
I don't give a shit.
Okay. Then we'll probably do those. I was thinking Friday, but we could also do them Monday.
Monday seems like a busy day, so we might want to highlight it for Friday.
For Friday? Is that what you said?
Yeah, because Monday's always a busy day.
Okay. I thought you said
a whole weekend of coverage.
With your mic, I thought you said Friday is always a busy day, so let's do it on Friday. And I was for a second like, huh?
Nope. Not bad. I meant Monday.
But fuck it. We just made the decision. So Friday, we'll have our NFL predictions for you for the 2020-2021 season. But the first thing we'll talk about is the Las Vegas Raiders, Dave. The new player, it's the Super Smash Brothers, a new opponent, is approaching because Jadeveon Clowney is still without a team. Was with the Seahawks last year. There's some teams that have kind of had interest in him, but now it seems like the Las Vegas Raiders are the newest team to kind of throw their hat in. This is according to Yahoo Sports insider Charles Robinson.
Yep.
For me, I'm kind of shocked at this point that Jadeveon Clowney has not found a team. The only reason I can think of is that he's like, hey, I'm worth this much. And they're like, nuh-uh, buddy, you're worth this much. And he's like, deuces, home dog. Like, I don't need to play for you. If I ain't getting paid what I deserve. But like, to me, this is a no-brainer for the Raiders. You're moving to Las Vegas. You have a team that people are excited for this year. And this would be a shot in the arm to your defense, giving you one of the top pass rushers in the league.
Yeah.
Does Jadeveon Clowney put on the silver and black this year in LV?
I love the idea. I think everything you said about the pairing makes perfect sense. They always need more pass rush. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why? I can't. Again, I'm trying to think of the reason why he hasn't been signed yet. Like, what will that final number look like where he's happy with it?
According to Robinson, he says, after speaking to a multitude of sources who have taken part in pursuit of Clowney, suitors appear to be thinning rather than growing. The Cleveland Browns made their best pitch and offered Clowney more money and salary/year combination than any other NFL team to date.
Yeah, but then you got to go to Cleveland.
He balked and they walked. If he has a chance of ending up in Cleveland now, it will be for solidly less than $18 to $19 million window that was available to him before training camp. So 18, 19 mil, now he's looking for less than that. And to be honest, is he looking for a long-term deal? Is he looking for just a one-year deal again? Like, I would think he's looking for like a longer-term deal. Hey, solidify me down for a couple years, not the like 1 year, and having that kind of question.
I think if he can get a long-term deal somewhere he wants to live, sure, or a team he thinks is going to be long-term successful.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I could see him defaulting and renegotiating with Cleveland for a 1 year payout for like 20 mil.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear he does not want to live there long-term or he does not see success there long-term. Which may change over time. You know, they've got a system. They've got a quarterback who had all the riches of embarrassment on offense last year, and he still sucked.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to take a step forward. Otherwise, that team's going to be stuck in purgatory.
Yeah.
I like the idea of him going to the silver and black. I feel like it's good. It's a good move.
I feel
it's
like it just works. Like the Raiders are usually a team that are not shy to shell out money, especially if they think it's going to be someone that fits their team. And plus, I mean, why would you, with the Cleveland thing, why would you want to go to Cleveland? Their quarterback right now is saying like, hey, last year's on me. It wasn't a good year because of me. Not the kind of thing I want to see if I want success with my football team. The other no signing right now is Earl Thomas. Earl Thomas has had some issues.
That's it. Gotta ask for that shit.
His work ethic has been called into question by his former team. It came to a head where he got into a fight with his former team. Just ask Steve Smith how that turned out for him. I also think, didn't Jonathan who was it? It was an Oregon running back with the Panthers. Also got in a similar situation where they punched someone, unless I'm just confusing.
Blunt.
Yes, that was it. LeGarrette Blunt had a certain situation like that. Ask them how that works out for them, as Earl Thomas is no longer with the Baltimore Ravens. There's a slew of teams that could be in the running for Thomas, but there's only two, Dave, that I look at. One would be a great fit for him, and I think it as a coach that can get the best out of him. That's the New England Patriots. However, is Bill Belichick does this with the weight. Is the issues that I'm going to get from Earl Thomas going to outweigh how much better he's going to make this team a team that needs a lot more than Earl Thomas to make up for the losses that they've had on the defense due to the COVID opt-outs.
6 starters gone on that defense, not just from COVID, but from offseason as well.
The other team that I think he ends up with, because they don't give a shit about personal problems, are the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones will throw the pocketbook at you, unless your name's Dak Prescott, and he'll sign you to this team. So with this one, it was basically Earl Thomas, Patriot or Cowboy.
I mean, Cowboys make the most sense. I think the personal problems is an overblown thing. It harkens back to when Pat McAfee had the Marlins former owner on there, and he was talking about how, as a team in the front office, when you're ready to move on from a player for whatever given reason, you just float stories out there. Like he was a locker room problem. He was always starting shit, and then when they talked to different people, I forget the interview he had on today or yesterday, was talking about, he's like, Earl's one of those guys who is running through walkthroughs. He is working up a sweat through walkthroughs. He's someone who is going to question everything, and you have to have an open mind with him. But if you allow Earl Thomas to play Earl Thomas style football, he's a fantastic player, and he's the guys you have to come around to. It's not like day one, this guy is perfect fit for our team. He's like, oh, that's how this guy works. Okay, I can work with that. It's more of a system thing than anything. And Baltimore wasn't a great fit. He was being outperformed by guys who were cost way less than him. I think he was their biggest cap hit, or one of their biggest cap hits. So it's not shocking to see them try to get out of that contract. We'll see where the grievance lands on that end, because I think they might still have to pay him a fuck ton of money if it comes out that way. And this is all just bullshit on their end, which would be absolutely par for the course in my mind. But I love Dallas because he loves Dallas. He grew up a Dallas fan as a kid, and he loves the Cowboys. So why go to the Cowboys? They're a team that needs defense.
Yeah, and I
Their
mean,
team has a pocketbook.
When you talk about like the Earl Thomas, like you let Earl Thomas play like Earl Thomas, like that's why it worked in Seattle. Because we talk about Pete Carroll, that's how Pete Carroll treated him. Hey, if you're gonna give everything you've got and you're gonna play well on the field, I'm fine letting you be you, man. And that's like, that's why it's like you look at Pete Carroll and it's like, how were you able to manage all of these personalities on that defense?
Winning.
And still win.
Winning is what makes managing personalities easier.
If they were losing, it wouldn't have been
Exactly. Somebody brought up the 49ers as another potential team because, of course, his Legion of Boom former teammate is over there. But they're like, I think the 49ers, like, we don't touch anything on this defense. They're good as is. Okay, I'm pretty sure we got this covered.
Mm-hmm.
No distractions needed.
The last two things, Dave, are quarterback situations.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both stemming from this article. So one we were going to talk about yesterday because it seems like Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be the starter for the Miami Dolphins, where I saw Colin Cowherd have a video on it that this is perfect for Tua. This is great for Tua, everything that Tua needs. However, this article from NFL.com, which I will give credit to, Adam Sheen, who basically wrote on his 9 moves, number 6, Miami Dolphins should hold a legitimately open QB competition. Is this right? Should they make Fitzpatrick the starter? Should Tua have an open chance to be the starter day one? What are your thoughts on the Miami situation at quarterback?
Pretty simple. The answer is no, they should not, and they should do their best to protect Tua early on.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you have Tua in an open competition, it's a lose-lose, because if he's winning that competition, you have to put Ryan Fitzpatrick back on the bench again. And then if Tua hits any struggles, or if he tweaks anything, or if he's, everybody says he's way ahead of schedule on his rehab. He's looking great. But if anything goes wrong, it's what a minor setback would have been is now a major setback in this kid's development.
Yeah.
If he loses it, then it's like, wow, this guy's not even as good as Ryan Fitzpatrick out there. Are you kidding me? Like Ryan, the beard Fitzpatrick, who half the time is just throwing picks like left and right. And the other half the time he's basically like Drew Brees out there, though, to be honest. Like he just slings it. So no, he should not be a starter. He should be on the bench with a clipboard, continuing his strength and training regimen, continuing to get into a place where he has got that playbook memorized, where he's got the offense down, he's reading defenses, he's helping the team from the sideline. And then when they hit that struggle bus of the season, then he comes in, swoops in, saves the day. You get the whole, mid-year boost of having a QB swap out there, and you see what you got with him halfway through a season.
Yeah, I almost look at it, and so I feel like I have this conversation every year with a team. But like back when we did the onside kick, Mark and I would always say this of like, you look at the schedule, and I agree with you. Protect Tua at all costs. The first question you have to answer is, how much do you protect him? Do you protect him to where it's like, well, you won't start day one, but you will start this year? Or do you sit him entirely? Even if that means, hey, Fitzpatrick ain't going to be the starter the whole year because he's not doing well. Josh Rosen then takes over the rest of this year. I don't know if I do that route because in my pecking order, Tua is above Rosen. Even though I love Rosen, I think Rosen has not gotten the
have we heard anything about Rosen versus Tua for the number 2 spot?
I mean, the way everyone's looking at it whenever I read things about the Dolphins is Fitzpatrick versus Tua. Rosen's not even brought up in the conversation, which sucks for Rosen because, like I said, I don't think he got a fair shot in Arizona. He only had 1 year with Miami before they drafted Tua. But, like, I look at the Dolphins' schedule, and it's like, I'm going to stop when I think the first win happens. New England, Buffalo, Jacksonville, Seattle, San Francisco, Denver, LA, Arizona.
Jacksonville happened.
Jacksonville could be a win, but I still like Thursday Night Football in Jacksonville.
Gardner Minshew? The Minshew mania, the mustache.
Unless Fitzpatrick throws four touchdowns, no INTs that game.
He literally can do that. And he can. He
can. That's what I'm saying. If he does.
I was like, okay, he could win the first one. He could win. He can win every single one of these games. That's the power of Ryan fucking Fitzpatrick.
I see the Dolphins as not being a good team this year.
I think you are underestimating the Dolphins roster.
To where I
vastly think you are.
Week 9, by the earliest, is when Tua starts.
Great, sure, buddy. I'll catch you tomorrow.
By the earliest, he starts. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick ends the year as the Dolphins starter. He will start. Tua will end as it. However, yet again, you look at the end of the schedule. Do you want Tua going up against KC, New England, Las Vegas, and Buffalo to end a season?
He could split that.
You're trying to like split it between Fitzpatrick and Tua?
No, I'm saying that Tua could
you're saying
win half of those
2
games.
and 2. Okay. I was just looking at like
New England's not as good as you think they are.
They're not going to be because of the losses, but it's
exactly.
and
so
they don't have Tom Brady.
They're not an elite team.
It's the Patriot that like I've been ingrained to think the Patriots are really good.
Their defense is a shell.
Hey man, if Cam Newton comes out and he's MVP Cam, anything can happen.
That's fine.
Last thing I'll ask you, and this is right in your wheelhouse, Dave. This is right in your backyard. Look out your window. It's in your backyard. Adam Sheen said, Dave, this is the quote.
It's about my walnut or my
Number 8, Chicago Bears should name Nick Foles the Week 1 starter.
Who gives a shit? Like, I'm serious. Like, this man, I read his article. I know nothing about him up to this point, but his writing style bugs the hell out of me. It's it's clickbaity, aggressive. Like, they must do this. Like, no, they really don't have to. Like, have you seen the Bears as an organization? Since when are we going to do anything along those lines? Like,
they don't even know if Mitch has improved yet.
We're going to draw this shit out for a couple of weeks. We're not going to give anybody a clear line. I wouldn't be surprised they split fucking first team reps until day 1 of the NFL season. I honestly wouldn't be.
Do you think there's a chance Nick Foles is named the Week 1 starter, though? Like, when they do name it?
I think it's less likely that he would be the day 1 starter. I think that they are going to do everything in their power to have Mitch in there as a starter. I think Nick Foles is a better quarterback today. I don't know many people who are going to argue with that.
Yeah.
But it just comes down to the fact of, do you think that Mitch Trubisky can be a better quarterback than Nick Foles is? That's what you have to ask yourselves. And are you ruining a window that possibly is closing by not playing Nick Foles?
And I agree with you. Nick Foles is the safety blanket where it's all set up. Mitch is our guy. Mitch is going to be the starter. But when Mitch fails, because in my mind, he will fail. He is not going to be successful.
He's proven it.
When he fails, okay, now we can put Nick Foles in. It's like, it's better to say now we can put Nick Foles in because of what he's done in recent years compared to, all right, I guess we go to Case now. Like, Case is good. Like, Case is decent, but Case ain't going to be a starting quarterback tier kind of a guy. So it's like, Nick Foles is a safety blanket. Nick Foles knows why he was brought in. I think Nick Foles is just going to sit back and just wait for the ship to start to burn. And then it's like, okay, now it's my time to try to save
run
this
with
thing.
it, go win another Super Bowl. That's the plan.
Bear down, right? Bear down, 16.
Bear down.
But that is going to do it for MVP Sports Live today. Thank you guys for checking out the show. Had a lot of interactions in Twitch that I like seeing. Had a question about the Discord, which I'll bring up right now. Yes, we do talk to the people in the Discord. It isn't something where, just fans can talk to one another. No, Dave and I are in there too. We're in the bushes. We're kind of going through the weeds of everything, and we're giving our opinions too.
I will talk shit about you on Twitch if you say something stupid in Discord. I do not pull punches.
Yes, Dave will make it public.
I'll argue with you in Discord, and then if I still have a beef with you, I'll bring it up.
Oh, I love it. I love it. But Discord down below in the description for YouTube, exclamation Discord if you want to join it in Twitch chat right now. Patreon.com/MVPvids if you want to help support the channel. Also, if you're on Twitch right now and you have a sub to throw our way or have a Prime Gaming sub, throw that our way. Just by throwing that sub at us, that is the same as being a bronze level supporter on Patreon. You get everything that the bronze level gets, which, hey, you get to join the voice chats for our MVP Discord.
Basically,
which is
the NBA playoffs. Yep. I think we've been averaging like 2 a week at this point.
Yeah,
they're not guaranteed. It's when we do have time. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Nice.
Ricky, get out the bush. I don't know what that means.
Get out of the bush, because I said we're in the bushes, we're in the weeds.
Oh,
we're going through everything.
Okay, I was like,
get out of the bush.
Like reference I'm missing.
No, man, we're just weird. We're in bushes and shit.
All right, Chainsaw Chief, I see you.
But yeah, join the Discord. support us on Patreon or throw us your Prime Gaming sub or become a sub. That is another way you can support us. But other than that, thank you to our Patreon supporters yet again, Pat Hill and Philly Sean. That's going to do it for Dave and I. We'll be back tomorrow for more sports action. Games Live will be coming up right after this with Soapy and myself. So stay tuned for that if you're on Twitch. And as always, have a good day, everybody.